Yes.
Okay, good morning. Masechet Pesahim, Nuntet Amud Bet. We're getting to the halfway point of the Masechet, Baruch Hashem. So we're at the top of the page, and just to review ourselves what we said, just to remind ourselves what we said yesterday, we're talking about somebody's Mechusar Kippurim. So imagine the guy lives in Tiberia, and he's a Mitzorah. And Mitzorah needs to bring a few korbanot. He needs to bring a Chatat, he needs to bring an Asham, and he needs to bring an Olah. He shows up on the Erev Pesach, and mistake, he forgot to bring his Chatat. So he didn't bring his Chatat, and he brought his Korban Pesach. Now, since he didn't bring Chatat, even though the 7 days passed that he's not anywhere in Mitzorah, for example, and he went to the mikveh, the problem is you're still called Mechusar Kippurim, you're still lacking an atonement. You're still not allowed to eat any korbanot until you bring that korban. So what is he supposed to do, this guy? We have another problem, and he already brought his korban pesach. So tell him, just go back and bring your chatat. He can't do that because the store is closed once we brought the tamid. The tamid is the last thing on the list. Now, of course, korban pesach is also last, but you can't do anything after the korban pesach, and you can't bring anything after the tamid. So how is he going to do? This poor guy, he's not going to eat his korban pesach at night. So we allow him, according to Rav Papa. It's really according to Rabbi Yochanan, but really Rav Papa explained it. What we do is we tell them, okay, bring your korban, shech the korban, bring your chatat, shech the chatat, cut it up, take the pieces that have to go on the mizbech, bring them up on the mizbech, and leave them there in a corner, and don't burn them. Because the real problem to bring something after the korban pesach is done, after the tamid, is to actually burn it. But so long as you're not burning it, and you did part of the service, but you didn't finish up the job, so it's a finished job, we're going to see today, it's considered finished. The guy got his kapara, and therefore he can go home and eat the korban pesach, and we have not been over on the avera of making sure that the tamid is lasting. So that's what we said yesterday. So that's what we're holding at the top of Nunten Amud Bet. So the Gemera asks a question this. Amar le Rav Shemen baraba le Rav Papa. So Rav Shemen asked Rav Papa, how are you saying that? Le didach. Damat male umenina v'rasha mizbeach. So you're saying, bring the korban up on top of the mizbeach, leave it there overnight, and the next morning after the korban pesach, after the tamid has been brought, that's when you're going to bring it. Shel mizbeach v'rasha shel mizbeach kaimin v'avdinan. You are doing something. Minta de kohanim de'atu bari de takana. You are causing a problem to the kohanim. What is the problem with the kohanim? The savre diyomahu ve'ate la'akture. They're going to think it is today's offering, and they're going to end up burning it. Because what I told you before is that the last thing done has to be the tamid. Actually, it's not so true. It's the last korban shechting has to be the tamid. But let's say we had 100 korbanot, 1,000 today. And so we bring the tamid last, and we're going to speak about it later in the page. You bring the korban last, you shecht it, you burn it. Now we still have the leftover limbs that need to be burned for the rest of the korbanot. So when you let them, that's it. You have to do that all up for tamid. No, once it would, all the 1,000 korbanot were shechted, and the blood was sprinkled, because you know that there's 4 avodot when it comes to a korban. There was shechting it, there is kabbalat dam, getting the blood, there is bringing the dam to the mizbech, and then sprinkling the blood. Those are the 4 avodot. Once, and then of course, when everything said is done, you burn over the leftover pieces. So once you've done those avodot, even though you didn't finish burning up the leftovers of the korban, you can do that after the tamid. The main thing is that the main process should be done before. What we're talking about now is that even the shechting happened after the tamid, because the guy realized he didn't do it during the day. So now you're bringing up those limbs over there, and the Kohen's going to see them. He's going to see them with everything else. We have 1,000 we got to burn overnight over here, and we got this leftover one over here. We got this one over here. So he's going to think that this one is also part of the kosher ones that you're allowed to burn today. Ve'ature akture, and you're gonna come to make them do an avera because now they're burning something not being allowed to burning. So the Gemara answers, Amari Kohanim zrizin. Answers is no. Kohanim know the halachas. If you're working the Beit Mikdash, there's a supervision. They know their stuff. They're zariz. They're very careful about the halacha. Huh? What's that?
Oh, it goes like.
Back
there, yeah.
Yeah, because we say sometimes they're crooked, sometimes they're zarizim. Now, in general, there could have been corruption, but let's be honest. Most rabbis are good. Most tzaddikim are good. There's a few charlatans. There's a few sketches over here, and the kohanim also. In general, the kohanim in general. Now, don't forget over here. You see, we saw over there. Nobody's going to steal from the Beit Mikdash, but they can when it's a personal gain. When there's a personal here, what personal gain do you have? So when it comes to the halacha, you see a lot of guys. They're very meticulous between them and Hashem. But when it comes to business, leave the religion in the shul. That's it. So here it's the religious part. So it's not good. Obviously, it's terrible, but that's the religious part. They're going to do it right. They are zrizin. Kohanim know the arachot. They're not going to make a mistake. Amar Rav Ashi, Rav Kana, Rav Huna bered Rav Natan, Rav Papa. So another question comes up over here. Ve'akama donomik tere emurin kohanim u'matziach ne basar. 1 second. Let's go back to the original premise. The original idea is that this works. I don't think this works at all. You know why? Because so long as you haven't burned the leftover limbs, the kohanim can't eat the meat. What happens when we shech the korban? So the kohen prepares everything he's going to eat, and that eating is a kapara. Eating a kazayit of it is giving an expiation for the person that brings the korban. It's really amazing. You bring food to the mikdash. When the kohen eats it, it goes into his body. Like you're a part of this holy service, you get a kapara. It's like when you give money to a tzaddik and he uses it. So you just became, included in that tzaddik, in his avoida, in his talis that you bought him, in the food that you donated, and he's eating part of the suda. That's, a holy thing. So the kohen eats it, it's good. He didn't eat it, it's not good. And he can't eat it until we burn the korbanot. And until we burn the limbs. That's what it says here. Lo matzeh achre basar. They can't, until we burn it, they can't eat. The Tanya. Yachon ye kohanim rashaim bechazeh ubeshuk, kodem de haktarat ha'emurin. You think that the kohen is allowed to eat the breast which he gets and the thigh which he gets before we burn the emurim? Talmud Omar, v'ktira kohen et herev amizbecha. We burn the fats on the mizbech. V'adar v'yahazen Aaron u'v'nav. And only then the next verse says you're allowed to eat it. So we see that you're allowed to eat it only after you have burning it. V'kama libanav. Hazen Aaron u'v'nav. V'kama de kohanim. And we also know if they haven't eaten, so there's no kapara. So long as the kohen eaten, there's no expiation, there's no atonement. Detanya, v'achlu otam asher kaper lebaim. So the pasuk says, v'achlu otam asher kaper lebaim. The kohen's going to eat what gives an expiation, a kapara for the guy that brought it. So what did you gain? So the guy came from Tveria, he brought his korban pesach, he forgot that he owed a chatat. You're telling me to come and bring the chatat later at night. And it's not an avirah because we're not burning it. We're just going to put it on the mizbeach, and that's good. But no, he can't. The kohen can't eat it. And if the kohen can't eat it, the guy does the kapara, and he can't get a kapara, so he can't eat his korban pesach. So what did you gain? So the Gemara says, by the way, that's what it says. Yomi lamed shekohanim ochlim v'anim mitkaprin. Amar le kevan d'olev shar asum kemishnit mi'or shirabdu. Actually, here there's no other way. So since there is 2 exceptions to the rule that the guy doesn't get a kapara. The exception to the rule is if we lost the emurim or if they became tameh. Imagine there's a mix-up over here, and this limb that
we're adding on the case.
We're adding. We're making it that since we can't bring it now, it's like we lost it. What would be the case in a regular case where the korban is brought and the person cannot bring the guy brings his korban, the kohen gets the meat to eat, and the limb that we're supposed to burn, we lost it. Where did it go? We don't know. Disappeared limb over here. So what happens? The guy loses his mitzvah? No. If we lose it and it's a b'diavad, so the kohen's allowed to eat, he's allowed to mechaper. So since here we're not allowed to burn it, we're not allowed. Since we're not allowed to burn it because of another separate affair, it's like we lost it, like we become tamid. That's what's written here. Detanya. Yachon nitmeu emorim or shavdu lo yeh kohanim zakim bechazar b'shuk. So let's say it become tamid, and let's say it became tamid. Let's say it became he lost the shuk. Kohen can eat it? Yes, he can. There's another pasuk that says they get it, and it doesn't stipulate that they get it only if we burn the emurim. So there's 2 pasukim. One pasuk says you only get to eat it if we burn it. You only get a kapara. You're only allowed to eat the meat if we burn the emurim. And the other one says the kohen get it in all cases. So how do you reconcile this stira between 2? One is the chatchila, one is b'diavad. The chatchila, you should really burn them, and then the kohen's allowed to eat them. B'diavad, if the guy can't eat it, so then the kohen's allowed to. The guy can't burn it, then the kohen's allowed to eat it. And here he can't eat it because he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to burn them. The same as if it would become tameh or if it would become lost. Rav Kana, Rami. Rav Kana shows the contradiction in Psuki.
Also, when we put it on the right? Why do we keep it overnight?
Because if it didn't get to the mazbeach, it's not yet the mitzvah. So you haven't really brought the korban. The korban is to shecht it. I'm running out of time. The korban is to shecht it, to get the blood, sprinkle the blood, and then to finish the process by burning it up on the mizbeach.
I know, but we don't
so
burn it.
Once you brought it up, it's like you finished the job. but you're not allowed to burn it because the last thing you're allowed to do is the tamid. Anything that was brought before the tamid can be burnt under the tamid. Anything that was brought after the tamid, so you got to wait till the morning, to the next tamid, then burn them. But it's like.
But we're not burning it even in the morning.
Yes, after the next tamid, we will burn them. After the tamid in the morning, you will burn them.
Are there other mitzvot that you could have to do and then they count?
Don't know about it, but it sounds logical that some cases. Okay, the Gemara says, here's a contradiction. Rami, Rav Kana Rami Ketiv, Lo Yanin Cherev Chagi, Ad Boker. So the Pasuk says, when it comes to a Cherev of a Chag, you cannot leave it over up until the morning. You cannot delay it to burn it until the morning. Lo Yanin Cherev Chagi, Ad Boker. Ad Boker, Hudu Lo Yanin. Hakol Alayla Kula Yanin. So this is a problem. We told us the only thing you're allowed to do, the last thing you're allowed to do, this is by the way, this is just explaining what I told you before. The last thing you're allowed to do is the Tamid. And here we're saying, don't leave it up to the morning. Okay, I don't leave it to the morning, but I left it till midnight. Seems like I'm allowed to burn this fat at midnight, and you told me the last thing I have to do is the tamid. So the Gemara says, I have to do everything after the first kolba, after the first tamid, and not end before the second tamid. So what is the answer? So Rav Kana himself, who asked the question, he answers. We're talking about here where it's leftovers. So the halakha, like I told you before, is that the first korban in the morning is the tamid. Everything else needs to be sandwiched in before the second tamid. Everything needs to be brought. However, you don't need to finish the process. Once you got in, you're grandfathered in, so we can continue it afterwards. So that means that there's 101 shlamim in the middle of the day, but we didn't burn all the shlamim. So then it says that you're allowed to burn them later in the middle of the night. All night they were working, by the way, the Kohanim. The Kohanim were working until late at night to finish up all the jobs. So we shecht in the morning at Tamid, we shecht 1,000,001 korban at the middle of the day, we prepare them to finish the job, then we got to check the second Tamid at 9.5 hours into the day. After that, you have the rest of the day and all the way till the Arot HaShachar to bring all the korban, to burn the korbanot which were already shechted. You can't shecht any new korbanot. That's what it means. So in one case it says, you got to finish up the shechting, but you're allowed to continue to burn all the way to the next morning. Clear? The Gemara says another contradiction. The pasuk says, do not leave over till the morning. Zevach Pesach, Zevach Pesach. The korban Pesach cannot be left over until the next morning. Whatever parts. Lo yanin aboker zevach Pesach. Chag Pesach. Lo yanin aboker zevach Chag Pesach. So the korban Pesach cannot be left over into the morning. La boker hu delo yanin hakol halayla yanin. So you cannot. I'm confused here. Does it say over there what parts of the korban Pesach have to bring on the bottom of mizbeach? Does it say that? Hi.
Just as the sacrifice of the Pesach festival shall not remain overnight until morning, implying that it is until morning that it may not remain, but the entire night it may remain, provided it is not burned before morning.
That it is burned before morning. That it is burned before morning?
Provided that it is burned before morning.
It seems to be, I don't know right now what parts of the korban pesach need to be burnt, but whatever parts of the one need to be burnt, you can burn them in the middle of the night. You just can't go to the morning hours. And the problem is, that's what it says here. Lo yanin la boker zevach chag pesach. La boker hu de lo yanin. Hakol halayla yanin. But the whole night you could burn it. The problem with that is vakitiv olat Shabbat b'Shabbato v'olat chol b'Shabbat v'olat chol b'Yom Tov. The pasuk says olat Shabbat b'Shabbato. You're allowed to bring a Shabbos korban on Shabbos. You're allowed to bring a Yom Tov korban on Yom Tov. You're allowed to bring a Shabbos on Yom Tov and a Yom Tov on Shabbos. But you can't bring a weekday korban on Shabbos. So what happens if you leave it over? We have no problem, like we said before. So long as you brought it in the right time, you can burn it up the whole night. But that's only true if it's not a weekday going into Shabbos. But if you now, Erev Pesach, which is a weekday, that's going, seemingly weekday, is going into Pesach, you're going to burn it on the night. So you brought it on the 14th in the afternoon. Then you're going to continue and you're only going to burn up what you have to burn in the middle of the night. That's already Pesach. And we know the rules. You cannot bring a korban from a weekday to a Yom Tov or to a Shabbos. So how are you allowing to do that? Amar le, Kfar Ramya ni'ale Rav Abba. Rav Abba already asked the question. Bachir. The Rabbi Abba. We already heard this question. It's an old question. And here was the answer. We're talking about that the Erev Pesach was Shabbos. So really, the whole pasuk was talking about an Erev Pesach of Shabbos, that in that case, you can allow that the korban is going to go into the next day, which is the nighttime, which is Pesach, and then it's Shabbos to Yom Tov, there's no problem. The Chav Shabbat Krivin be Yom Tov, because the Shabbos korban can be brought, the Cherev, that's what it is. So the Cherev of the korban Pesach needs to be on the Mizbeach. Seems like that. The fat that you don't eat, it goes on the Mizbeach. So now you're going to bring it, that's why it's allowed. The Gemara says, Amarle, Mishum decheve Shabbat chivim b'yom tov, anan niku v'neiman lehai kcha be'arba'asar shechani yom b'Shabbat. That pasuk just sounds like in general Pesach, korban cannot be brought to the next day. And because of now this stira between psukims, you're going to start to say that whole pasuk that say you can't wait till the next day is talking specifically that you can't wait till the next morning. He's talking about only on Shabbos. That's Erev Pesach on Shabbos. It sounds like to be every single day of Erev Pesach, and you're now limiting it so much. Hu dichtiv amar le shav kedikra dehu dachik umikim nafshe. It's not. He says, what are you talking about? I'm not forcing the pshat. The Torah is forcing the pshat. There's no other way to explain it. On one hand, you're saying that you cannot bring the korban pesach into the next day. You can bring it all the way up to the next morning. On the other hand, it says very clear you cannot bring a weekday korban on Yom Tov. You cannot burn it the next day on Yom Tov on Shabbos. So it must be talking about Shabbos Yom Tov. I didn't force that. The Torah leaves me no choice to say that. That's what the Gemara says. A pesach sheshachatu, new Mishnah. Shelo lishman. So again, I told you that there's 4 different avodot when it comes to korban pesach. Correct? One avodah is the shechting. Any korban. Shech. You shech the animal. Second is you get the blood. At certain kelim you get the blood. Then you bring the blood because it's a big space where we're shechting. Then you bring the blood to mizbeach and you sprinkle it on. And then that's the 4 avodot. Then there's an avodah of burning up the leftover pieces on top. So now let's say that the guy did it lo lishma, because the mitzvah has to be done lishma. Okay. What's interesting, I'll just tell you another halakha. This is interesting. Let's say a kohen mixes up, and in his mind he forgets what he's doing, and now he's bringing the korban, not l'shem pesach, or a regular korban, shlami mechatat. He messes up in his kavanah. It's interesting enough that the korban stays a korban. It retains his sanctity of a korban, but the guy didn't get his mitzvah. See what I mean? Meaning the guy's bringing a shlamim, and the kohen messes up. I can't believe it, I thought I was going to make a barbecue. I forgot where I was seeing the meat, my mind was elsewhere. In my mind, some bipolar kohen, he's thinking what he's thinking. So now the korban stays a korban, but the guy doesn't get his mitzvah. You got to bring another one. Okay? I remember I was in Muncie, and there was a guy that we used to work in the tefillin store over there. So, and since I'm sofer, so I like to swap and speak to each other. So he was a breaster also, big over the chef. And he told me once there was a guy that came with his kid, came with his, all the brothers, everybody's there, and they want to see how he's putting in the parashiyot. Because if the parashiyot go in backwards, upside down, they're not kosher. You got to put the mezuzah upside down, it's not kosher. So everybody's standing there in the shop, and he wants to see how you're putting them in. And he said, okay, it's like a little bit stressful, and he puts them in, and at the end, he put them in backwards. Everybody's watching him, and he puts it in backwards. And he was so shocked how could it be that he put him backwards? Then he told me that now I figured out pshat, what it's talking about. There's, I think, Tiferet Yisrael that says a pshat on the mission of when the Kohen has a thought of pigul, or he has a bad thought when it comes to the Korban. So that means the Kohen is in the Beit Mikdash. He's working there 2 days a year, or maybe in the Chagim. You bring him a chatat. Monsieur the Kohen, this is a chatat, here's the Averah I did, I need a kapara over here. And the guy shechts it, and when he's shechting it, he all of a sudden thinks, oh, this is a barbecue. This is not a chatat, how in the world does that happen? So he says over there, Pshat, that when the intent of the person bringing it is not pure, for whatever reason, Hashem will put in the impure thought of the person into the mind of the Kohen at the moment he's shechting. It was like above the knot. So now he said, I understood the same thing here. I never put them in backwards. But this guy over here, he's so, I don't know what discourse he had, but it could be that the energy of the person is going to make the person that's doing the job. So that means even if you're going to order tefillin, or if you're going to order talis, you're going to order all things. No, I got to argue from the best guy. The best guy can make a mistake. You got to pray that your things come out well, because your intent and your energy and your ritzonot go into the person that's doing the avodah. So here we're talking about a kohen that made a mistake. A pesach shechato shelo lishmo. So the Kohen now, he's shechs shelo nishma. V'kibed v'halach v'zarak shelo nishma. So he got the blood, and he brought the blood, and he threw the blood, all shelo nishma. He did it all with not the prohibition. Okay, or lishma v'shelo nishma. Or here's what he did 50-50. Nishma and not nishma. He did it for God, and he did it not. Or shelo nishma v'nishma. Or the opposite. Shelo nishma nishma. Pasul. So now it's pasul. Ketzad lishma. So all these three are pasul. What does it mean lishma v'shelo lishma? L'shem Pesach or l'shem Shlamim? So here's a little bit easier way how the guy can make a mistake. Because the Kohen has so many korbanot. What do you never went to the restaurant and you ordered something and they mix up your order? I'm dealing with 20 people over here. Sorry, I thought you told me like this. So the Kohen has a lot of customers. So he at the beginning he's thinking korban Pesach. Then no, that guy wants a shlamim. So he thinks, okay, I'm shechting a korban Pesach, and while he's shechting, or maybe he switches his mind. Oh no, this is a shlamim. So that could be lishma and shelo lishma. What is the opposite? Lishma shelo lishma v'lishma. L'shem shlamim or l'shem Pesach. Or the opposite is l'shem shlamim. If it's not nishma, okay, the guy shlamim. Oh no, I realize it's a korban Pesach. All that is pasul. The question we're going to ask now is, when we said that it's 50-50, is it 50-50 in one avoida? Or is it in one avoida lishma and the second avoida shelo lishma? And I'll explain. Now, you're coming now with your korban Pesach. So the Kohen is supposed to bring in all the korban Pesach. But in the end, he didn't. It's pasul. Because he brought it lishma v'shelo lishma. What does that mean? Or shelo lishma v'lishma. He brought it korban. He brought it Pesach and also shlamim. What does that mean he brought it Pesach and shlamim? Does it mean that when he's shechting it, he's thinking korban Pesach half of the time when he's slaughtering, and half of the time when he's thinking it's shlamim? Or does it mean that he shechted it for Pesach, and he brought it to he got the blood for shlamim? What does it mean, the 50-50 that we're saying pasul? So the Gemara says, Vayira papa be'avoda achat tnan or b'shtei avot tnan. When we said that it's pasul 50-50, is it one of the four, or is it two out of the four? Be'avoda achat tnan v'Rabbi Yossi damar af b'gmar dvarav adam yitpas. Well, if you say it's one avodah, we have no choice than to say that this Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi the Tana. And we said in Masechet Truma, we learned it before, is that let's say a guy has a korban, and he wants to switch the korban. So he's now in Jerusalem, he bought a nice sheep. And he sees that the sheep is really juicy. He wants to eat that sheep. And he has another sheep, I'll bring this one to Mizbech. That's not good. You should bring the good one, by the way. You shouldn't bring it. So now let's say he has a korban, and it is, for example, an olah. And he says, instead of this olah, I'm going to bring this one olah. It's timura. He's switching. He thinks he's allowed to do it. Doesn't work. He thinks you can switch the sanctity from this one to this one. By the way, that does work sometimes. If you want to be poid, there's something but the mikdash, you're allowed to. If you want to redeem something, you're allowed to. So here he's thinking the same thing. I got this korban. Okay, I'm not going to bring this one. I'm going to bring this one. Maybe it's better. I don't want to bring the cheap one. I want to bring the better one. I want to bring something nice. So this korban is an olah. Now this one's going to be olah. You know what's the halacha? This one's an olah and this one's an olah. They're both olah. Doesn't work. This one, you can't take away its sanctity. And this one, you just made it holy. We have done this before. So you gotta bring both of them as an oila. That is a regular standard case, everybody agrees with that. What if he says like this? This is an oila, and this is a shlamim and an oila. So what happens? Well, Rabbi Meir says we go with the first thing. When you said one thing, since you can't do two things at once, the second one is nothing. So this will be an oila, and this will be an oila. And you can actually both bring him to the Beit Mikdash, and they will be brought both in an oila. So you didn't get what you wanted, but you end up bringing two korbanot. Why not? But according to Rabbi Yossi, both diburim are chal. Both statements work. So you said oila shlamim, it's an oila shlamim. The problem with that is you can't bring it as an oila and a shlamim together.
You can think both, but
you can think both, and it actually becomes both, but you can't bring it as both. Because you cannot bring it as an olah and a shlamim at the same time. Because one you burn up and one you don't burn up. One you eat and one. So what do? So you take this oila shlamim and you let it graze until one day, sooner or later, it's going to have some blemish. Some animal's going to bite it. It's going to lose a tooth. It's going to cut its lip. It's going to lose its eye or something like that. And then once that is a blemish, you're allowed to sell it, redeem the money, and now the money will use 50-50 for an olah and a shlamim. That's what Rabbi Yossi says. So you see that Rabbi Yossi says the dibur is chal on both. So now let's go back to our case. The guy is you give him a korban pesach. In the middle, now what did we say in our Mishnah? If he said pesach shlamim, it's not kosher. Well, if we're talking about one avoida, the Mishnah talking about, then this Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. Because if while he's shechting, he's thinking pesach shlamim, what happens? According to Rabbi Meir, that's good. That's okay. Because since you thought pesach first, we go with the first thought. It's pesach. Only according to Rabbi Yossi, when you're shechting pesach shlamim, it actually becomes both, and that's possible. So this Mishnah, if it's one avoid, that can only be Rabbi Yossi. Odima, that's what it says here. Tanan ba'avodah achat, second last line, third last line. Tanan veRabbi Yossi de'amar av b'gemara dvarav adam nipas. Di Rabbi Meir hamar tafus lashon rishon. Because if it's Rabbi Meir, we go with the first language. Odin ma b'shtei avodot tanan. Or maybe we're talking about two different avodas. Va'afilu leRabbi Meir de'amar tfus lashon rishon. Hanimini ba'avodah achat, but shtei avodot modedim ifsan. Or maybe this Mishnah is in two different avodot, and even Rabbi Meir would agree to it. Because even though Rabbi Meir says we go with the first language, that's when it's one thing. When you're shechting and you say Pesach Shlamim, you're going to Pesach. But if you shechter Pesach, and then you bring it to the Mizbeach, you sprinkle the blood for Shlamim, well, that's two different things. So we will attribute the second statement on the second part. And then that Mishnah would be puzzled even according to Rabbi Meir. We'll stop here. Hazak.